Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at the DRF race of the day for Thursday, November the 7th. It's race number 7 at Aqueduct, starting off a new meet this week at the Big A, mile and a 16th on the inner turf. Let's throw up the field for this first level allowance for fillies and mares. Remember, you can access free formulator past performances on the race of the day event page at DRF.com. Take a peek, handicap along with us. The 1 and the 1A, they are part of the main track only list, along with numbers 11 through 13. So we're going to start things off, Mike, by focusing on the 8, Rhiannon, returning off of a lengthy layoff for Chad Brown, but who looked very good at 2 starts back.
Yeah, it's been almost a year since we've seen this horse. Turf debut, 2 starts back, really impressive performance in fast time. The only start since then, Dan, grade 3, where she didn't run quite as well. We'll see how she looks coming back off of a very long layoff here.
Figures to show some fresh early speed off of the bench. As we throw up the Timeform US pace projector, we expect Rhiannon to be sitting close to the pace in a situation that favors front runners, with the 2 Roswell, a stretch-out sprinter trying turf for the first time, expected to be up and on the pace as well. I kind of agree with Timeform US. I don't think the pace is going to be blazing.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be fast either. Roswell, there's a lot of question marks here, but stretching out first time on turf here and from the rail, I suspect she'll be forwardly placed here. Rhiannon is going to be forward in this race. Awesome check the 10. Didn't really get to show her speed last time, Dan, but she's got speed from the outside.
If the pace is surprisingly fast, keep an eye on the 6 Revelita. Note the LP flag over Revelita's Chicklet. The multiple grade 2 placed runner has the fastest Timeform US late pace rating. We're going to kick things off with the number 2 Roswell, starting on turf for the first time with plenty of turf pedigree. She's by Into Mischief, one of the great stallions of our time. 13% with first turf runners. The Dam was a grade 2 stakes winner on the turf. The Dam's a half to Arch, who is one of the better turf sires we've seen in recent years. The second Dam was a stakes-winning turf miler, so lots of pedigree appeal, lots of tactical speed.
Yeah, and some talent too. You sort of have to get past her last 2 races, Dan, where she just didn't run really well. I guess the Charlestown Oaks, you could be a little forgiving. I actually thought that she would run well there, and she didn't. She was just bad last time at a really short price. So Mott's going to make the surface switch. You brought up her pedigree, which you're right. There's turf in there to be sure, but she's bred to handle all 3 surfaces. So I don't know how much of a difference it's actually going to make. I still like her as a horse. I don't think I'll be betting her here.
The 3 Public Defenders, a big price on the morning line, shipping in from Colonial Downs for trainer Jane Sibeli, where she was a tactical maiden winner going a mile in only her 3rd lifetime start. It's not like there was a very fast pace on display. She had Lasix and blinkers for the first time, so maybe she's starting to reach her potential. But that being said, she's facing a much tougher group here.
Yeah, it feels like they've shipped in and found a pretty tough entry-level allowance race here, Dan. We'll see how she handles it. I agree with your take on her most recent start. That was off of a very long layoff, and she did get a decent trip in that race, but it was certainly a move forward. Maybe she can improve again.
You can't fool me. The number 4 is a very solid New York bred, coming off a good 3rd place effort in the John Hettinger for state breds. Let's watch Can't Fool Me, who just got wired in a slow-paced race here, Mike. She's going to end up running 3rd. The winner of this race, Moon Age Daydream, is in career best form. Yeah. She would come back to win another New York bred stake with an 85 buyer speed figure. Can't Fool Me did not threaten for the win, but at least she was running on at the end a little bit.
Yeah, very game to get 3rd here. She never threatened, but she didn't have much of a real chance. I think the 1-2 finishers are both better than she is anyway. There just wasn't any pace in here. This mare's been in really good form all year long, Dan. She's just run nothing but good races. I'm sure her connections hate that pace projector because she doesn't really have any speed. She's going to be trying to close again, and I wonder if it's going to be too much for her, but I wouldn't underestimate her chances. Her form is very good.
Another horse likely to be coming from the back of the pack is the number 5, Annihilate, who is probably a closer anyway, but is now also cutting back precipitously in distance from 1 mile and 3/8, and last time out was beaten in a closer's race by an odds-on winner who came from off the pace. I thought Annihilate ran just fine. I just don't know what to make of her from a class standpoint. When you lose in the Meadowlands in a condition claimer 2 starts back, you're not for me at any price when you're shipping back up in New York.
Especially when you're losing to Saratoga Gaze. I'm with you. I don't know, man. I just don't think that there's much of a chance that she can beat this field without something happening.
Revelita has yet to win in the States since shipping over and switched to the Chad Brown barn. But as I mentioned, she's multiple grade 2 place, and she was given a little bit of a break since her most recent start, where she was beaten as the favorite in her first level allowance at Saratoga going a mile. She is another horse that doesn't have a lot of early speed. She's going to run on late in this race to finish 3rd. She certainly has some class in her corner.
Yeah, she does. She runs on okay in this race, Dan. I guess you could say she was just too far away early. I don't really know what to make of her. I liked her quite a bit last year. Early on, it felt like she had some real potential, and it just for whatever reason never really happened for her, and her campaign was over before August even came around, and she's only had 2 starts this year. I'm not thrilled with either one of those performances. I know that she's talented. We'll see if she gets the right trip in here. The 7-2 morning line, that's too short for me.
Spinning Colors, the number 7, another horse coming off a short break. This one for trainer Mark Henning. Came into the Yaddo last time out for New York Breds at Saratoga in very, very good form and ran a terrible, terrible race behind the aforementioned Moonage Daydream, who came back to win 2 stakes, 87, 85 against New York Breds. I just wonder if she needs Lasix. If that race was an example, you run her in stakes races without Lasix and she's just no good, because 2 back was a promising performance.
It's a very valid way to look at her, because she was bad last time. It didn't seem like there was any real excuse in it. You could certainly just point to the Lasix and say, I don't care about that race, and she's going to have Lasix back on here. Because you're right, Dan. As soon as Hennig switched her to turf last year, she improved immediately and ran, I want to say 4 really good races. Came back off the layoff, 2 starts back at Saratoga, won easily with a new top figure. If you're giving her a pass for the last one, you could easily make a case for it here, and she's going to be forward in this race, Dan. She's got really good tactical speed.
The 8 is Rhiannon. She's the morning line favorite, and she hasn't raced in almost a year, as Mike mentioned, but her turf debut, only her second lifetime start last summer, was a good performance at Aqueduct, where she got right up close to the pace, was just confidently pushing the pace setter, and then pounded them in the stretch to win by 7 with a 91 buyer. She was the beaten favorite in the Grade 3 Pebbles for 3-year-old fillies last time out. The layoff is obviously a concern, but we know Chad. He wins off with these kind of horses.
He does. He's very, very good off of layoffs, particularly long ones. So we'll see. You just sort of kind of suspect he's going to have these horses ready to go. But it's still, a question you have to ask yourself, especially when you're talking about the morning line favorite. Facing some pretty good horses. Her turf debut was a really strong performance. Her Pebbles, one of those days where the rails were at 0 on the inner turf. She's caught wide the entire way, chasing the pace. And by the way, the race is won by rail running Implicated, who at that time, Chad Brown was still training, and Implicated is just better than this horse is.
Vino Rouge is very interesting in this class level. The number 9 finished first at a first level allowance for 3-year-old fillies back at Saratoga, but was disqualified. Last time out, Vino Rouge was wired in a race that didn't have a lot of pace, I thought. Vino Rouge was pushing the pace on the outside that day, got a little bit tired. The runner-up came back to win at this level with an 89 buyer speed figure. I really think she fits this level like a glove from a class perspective. Her speed figures are there, and she's got the tactical speed to stay close under Dylan Davis.
Yeah, I agree with all those things. And maybe ultimately the 1 3/16 was a little too long for her last time. Then I don't know. I'm trying to make excuses for her, because the race 2 back where she got disqualified, to me, I thought she ran really, really well that day. And it's kind of, at least at this stage, it's really the only race that she's run on turf that I actually like. I don't really like any of her other races. The races are fine. I'm just not thrilled with them. I did like her race 2 back, and maybe the distance got her last time, but I still didn't think she ran that well in that spot.
Awesome Czech, the number 10, is already a stakes winner, although that race had 2 restrictions, a New York bred race for 3-year-old fillies only. She's in against older open foes here, but she ran 3rd at this level last time out, and it was another situation where Awesome Czech was off of the pace in here. She's down towards the inside. She's got to find somewhere to go. She kind of steadies a little bit and alters course sharply to the outside, and then she runs on late for 3rd. This filly does have some potential, has shown some talent.
Yeah, she's run some good races, and she can be more forward. She's tactical enough that you could take her back if you have to, but if the pace is slow, like the pace projector predicts, she'll be more forward in this race. But she ran fine in here, Dan. It's worth noting that it was a closer's race. The 1-2 finishers also both came from well out of it. They're also both trained by Chad Brown, and they're just both a little bit better than Awesome Czech is. And unfortunately for Awesome Czech, there's a couple more Chad Browns in this race.
The rest of this field are entered main track only, so we'll get to our picks in a second. But before we do, remember to subscribe to the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time, race 7 at the Big A, first level allowance for fillies and mares. I was just blown away by Rhiannon's race, 2 starts back on the turf. Chad does exceptionally well off of layoffs. Unfortunately, we're not going to get much of a price in here. I'm trying to get Can't Fool Me into the numbers somewhere. I like the fact that she has always been consistent in her career. I just thought she was hampered by a slow pace last time out.
Yeah, I agree with all that stuff. I just thought this was a good spot for Rhiannon. I'm going to take her on top too. And I got the 2 New York breds in there with her. Spinning Colors, I think, is underrated. I'm going to give her a pass for the last one. I like the trip that's probably coming for her here. And I also have your second pick there, Can't Fool Me, in there.
8749 for Mike, 8496 for me. We'll see how Rhiannon deals with a lengthy layoff for trainer Chad Brown in our DRF race of the day for Thursday, the 7th at Aqueduct. Good luck.
Hey friends, you look like you're in need of a winner. If you enjoyed the great content right here, just click and subscribe right here and enjoy the great DRF.com race of the days, the phenomenal stakes previews, and so much more. Many of that content featuring me and my exceptional selections. Trust me, you won't regret it.